Welcome to the new and improved podcast. I'm reformatting my podcast. I got my buddy Zach Anderson here with me. Some of you may already know who Zach is.
Some of you may not.
Zach's I would classify Zach as a master trainer.
Thank you. That's a compliment coming from you.
Absolutely. Well, I've seen a lot of guys who train people, and I don't want to put nobody down, but a lot of people just don't know what the fuck they're doing.
They don't, and they don't understand connections, muscle firing, and what a hack squat does, or a regular squat, or anything else, or the difference.
And your girlfriend Kristen,
yes,
she's the first American
wellness pro.
That's right.
Yep. So she's a 1-2 pro.
She'll be on the show sometime soon.
She'll be here. She's a doctor of physical therapy, so we'll get the ways to fix what we break.
Yeah, she's been working on my brokenness here. My shoulder, I got some issues. My rotated shoulder because of all this mousing that I do and all this shit. But she's been working on me. It's been amazing. I really fell in love with this dry needling shit.
It is. I hate it while it's happening, but you feel so much better. So I'm like, it's cut off. I tore my tricep in June, and she's cut my rehab time about in half. So I have full muscle firing now, and the dry needling has definitely helped.
I didn't do a lot of this therapy stuff when I was competitive because it wasn't available to me. And man, I wish I had it now because like this stuff is just changing.
It makes a difference. But I'm a baby. I'm the worst. I literally cry on the table. My hands are going everywhere. Oh no, don't
trust me, man. Like when she did my traps and my shoulder and my chest, you
got quads coming now.
Oh, fuck, man. Oh, I know, man. I'm like scared, but I'm excited about it.
In a good way.
But I'm excited about it. I'm excited because I know what the result is.
Yeah, it is. It's a better muscle firing, stimulates neurological.
And he sticks that fucking needle
all the way.
It's freaky. So when you see this shit happen, it's freaky. It's like you don't think.
Well, actually, do one. I'll come in and video live on you.
Oh, that's gonna be good. It was right those quads, but
it's happening.
Woo, boy, that's gonna be good. Because it feels like when she did it on my chest and my shoulder, it felt like I had like the gnarliest fucking shoulder and chest.
Well, it's a pump, and then you're sore like you just did an hour and a half long intensive death.
She did my right side that first time, and I'm at the mall. I went to the mall.
Got a pump on one side.
I feel like this side's all but it feels great. It feels awesome. The only thing that I think does she do ART?
Yeah, she does ART. She does all of it.
Oh, well, fuck. Then I got my one-stop shop.
Where she's actually doing a new cupping technique instead of the scraping, too.
Oh, okay.
So we'll do that.
Oh,
she
awesome.
did that on my hamstrings the other day. I got a crazy pump.
Okay, so I might look like I might have to go back on stage. Shit.
You might.
So part of the birth of this podcast was, so it's bourbon, beards, barbells, and bullshit. And essentially, this was... this formulated from just some of our conversations we had in the gym.
and no topic is off limits. It's not just going to be weightlifting. It's not going to be training. It's going to be a little bit of everything.
My hope was that this would be a lot more entertaining for people to listen to and for us to have.
Absolutely. Have a little conversation.
Right. And then, of course, I'm starting this first episode off with a bourbon. I picked bourbon because it's one of my favorite drinks now. I only usually do one bourbon a night. But I like lots of ices. So sorry, guys, be purists. I don't do that. My brother's a purist. He doesn't have anything in his...
With Amaretto.
I put a little
Splash of Amaretto.
And that's called an Admiral, by the way.
Right.
Admiral. Okay, yeah,
and then we learned that if you add cranberry, it's a red snapper.
Right, I didn't know that. Okay. Today I'm drinking my old mainstay, Bullet.
Rye or regular?
Regular.
Okay.
I don't do the rye stuff.
No rye.
No rye. No, that doesn't agree with me. But I like Bullet. It's like an old fashioned. Yeah.
I'm from Tennessee, so you got to go with Jack Daniels, which isn't a bourbon. Okay. Sour mash.
Yeah, I watched a show on bourbon, so this was interesting to me. So, 2 summers ago, I was
getting only made in Kentucky.
Only made. Well, there's laws. I didn't know there's specific laws that say you have to use 51% corn.
Okay, I don't know this.
Yeah, and there's all these other little prerequisites, and you gotta char the barrels, oak barrels. You have to char oak barrels. And it can't be anything else. So you go other country like Canada. It's not the fucking same.
No, Jack Daniels does do it. I've been to the distillery.
Okay,
they make a trip to Tennessee to do the stuff. We'll hit all of them.
I got a buddy over there who lives in Kentucky.
Right.
And he said, "Oh, I'll take you and tour you around all these." Right. I'm like, "Fucking down! I'm down with that." That sounds like fun.
We'll just do a distillery tour.
Right. He's Irish, and my boy John Farrell. He knows who he's talking about. He'll be listening to this. I tell people, if you want to drink with me, just be prepared because I can usually drink. And we were talking about this earlier. I'm not like a person who drinks a lot all the time.
Well, not.
But for whatever reason, my body processes this stuff really quick. He's the only guy that I've been able to drink with who could outdrink me. But he's Irish.
Well, yeah, you're born that way.
Yeah, I don't know. But you said you could drink a lot.
Yeah, I mean, I can when I do. Very rare occasions, but
I think the last time I got really hammered was with my boy John. We were in Vegas. We were celebrating his birthday. I prepped him for a show. He did a show that weekend. And then we celebrated his birthday at a strip club. And we went to the strip club. Now, I don't go to strip clubs normally. I'm not against them. I like pussy. Like
Blue Rhino, Hustler. Which one was it? Was it the good one?
It was a good one. It was good. It was good. And these big, like walking in there like I'm 250. And then these, so we get to our table. And I said, and we get a bunch of vodka. We just started just do vodka that night. And so I'm like going, why you got, this is my mistake. I said, I looked at my buddy John. I said, why are you fucking pouring so light? What are you, fucking pussy? So he's like, okay, motherfucker. So then next thing I know, 30 minutes later, I don't even remember what the fuck happened the rest of the night practically because we finished off 2 bottles. Mostly, I think I drank most of one of them. And I just remember the girls coming over trying to give me dances and shit. And I'm like, and they're like, you're not really interested in this. I'm like, no, not really.
Oh, I went one time. I was at the Blue Rhino, smashed like half a Magnum of Kettle One. Post show, shredded still, Hulk my shirt off, and start twerking on the stage. I was the one giving the lap dances that night.
Didn't you feel?
I don't even really remember it. Okay, I just heard stories. It's one of the few times that I got that drunk.
So normally when I prepped, when I drink then I feel it much more.
Yeah. Well, this was post. This was like 6 weeks post.
Oh, okay. Because man, I couldn't even have like 2 glasses of wine when I was prepping.
No,
I'd be like fucked up.
Done completely.
But off season,
yeah,
it's like
a little more body fat to absorb, and
it's fun. It was fun. It was a fun day. But I remember he had to carry me out.
Oh.
So I'm too
fireman carrier.
No. He's just like, and I remember I'm getting up. I'm like, and I don't hardly remember the shit. And I remember this part. And all these big Simone cats, they were the bouncers there, and they recognized me. They said, "Hey man, you need some help with your boy?" And my buddy's like, "No, we always carry our way out." But it was fun. It was fun. But that was the last time I really had been really hammered. That was probably like 6 years ago, 7 years ago. Quite some time ago. Now my days, they're biggest. Actually, this was one of the topics I was thinking about talking about. But I'm really digging the mind expansion stuff. So everybody who knows me knows I do a lot of meditations and I instruct people on lifestyle when it comes to this kind of stuff. And I really enjoy I've only done it once that where I've had a good effect was the mushrooms I was telling you.
Oh yeah, right.
Because to me it feels like MDMA. And MDMA, man, that feels
it feels great.
That feels like me. Like I feel like my natural self with that shit. Now maybe that's just the drugs talking, but I know what it does. So for those who don't know, like MDMA opens up serotonin gates, so it dumps all your serotonin. Right. So you got it. So you got a recovery system. You got to
the next day.
Otherwise you're gonna have to come down. It's gonna be bad, or it can be. I found that I could tolerate about 400 milligrams a night,
and then you're you're over the look.
The only thing I didn't like was the only thing I don't like about MDMA is I don't like that you can't fuck on it.
You never really had that problem,
dude. I like you're like your dick don't work, man. Yeah. It's just, everything feels good, but just like nothing. Like
maybe I haven't gone that far. Then
you gotta take it and you gotta fuck within an hour.
Like, okay. You have time to myself. Start the timer. Alarm's going off.
But girls, they have the best time. Oh, it's like
sex drive's insane.
Oh yeah, it's awesome. Like, oh, I'm jealous. What the fuck, man? Like, maybe that's why people use cocaine with it. I've heard, and I've never used cocaine. It scares me, but
I've heard that it cuts the effects way down.
Oh, I don't know.
On the MDMA, that it'll because it overfires the nervous system.
It's possible. I don't know. I've never read, but I have read.
We'll have to research this one.
Anecdotally, I've heard that.
Not us personally. We research this.
Anecdotally, I've heard that people who use cocaine, their sex drive goes up.
Right.
Like they could just some friends of mine said, "Oh, I can fuck for hours." I'm like,
see, now I've heard the opposite.
Really?
That most people can't fuck on cocaine, but can on MDMA.
So maybe we got there's conflicting information.
I don't know.
So anybody out there needs to tell us what the fuck your experience is. I don't want to do cocaine. I really don't have any interest in that, but I do I do think that there's some really great therapeutic applications.
That's what we were talking about, microdosing it to bring up serotonin. Well,
there's some studies that show that just 5 milligrams of MDMA will actually cure PTSD.
Right, because which is
and you won't feel 5 milligrams.
No,
because when I go to,
is it the natural serotonin up just on a very low area?
Yeah. So what it's doing is it's just forcing the gates to go open up a little bit. And it dumps a little serotonin. And when so here's the funny thing.
But you said that with the mushrooms as well.
Yes. Yeah, it feels like that.
Right.
It feels. I don't know if it's doing the same thing, but it feels.
You get that feeling of it. Well, a lot of people use it therapeutically.
Except
I know a lot of people use mushrooms in small doses, microdoses.
Yeah. Most of the people that I know like to microdose.
Right.
But I was in it for the full journey, man. I want to go. I want to blast off, man. I want to see fucking fractals, and I want to talk to fucking aliens and shit.
Oh yeah. We need to do the
ayahuasca.
Yeah.
I'm already.
That's life changing.
Oh, absolutely. I've interviewed half a dozen people who've done it. Every single person has a great experience.
Right.
I mean, some of them had some frightening experiences. They were fighting demons.
You have to be with a shaman.
Yeah. Well, it's advice. I want to do it. Yeah. So I heard there's
no guidance, just full out go out there and go for it.
I heard that here in Arizona, in Phoenix, there's a couple that are shamans that do this.
Really?
Yeah, Matt Christianer.
Okay. Yeah, we talked about that.
Yeah, he went and did it with them. He said I'm gonna call him and get the
info.
Names.
Okay.
Because I'm gonna do this.
This is for a later podcast. So we'll tell you how it goes.
I was gonna do it. Dwayne Yates invited me to do it in Costa Rica with him. And then COVID hit.
Yeah, and I couldn't kind of went crazy and
so but that would have been fun to do it.
I don't want to do it with a mask on.
Fuck that shit.
No mask.
Besides, there's also so most people, you got to do a cleansing process.
Right. It's a whole process.
Yeah.
Right? It's like a 2-day thing.
It's like a week long. Yeah. So you don't drink, you can't drink or smoke. You can't. So that's gonna cut my lifestyle in half.
Right.
But then the last day before, you're supposed to fast.
Okay.
Because a lot of people purge.
Right. That's what I heard. Yeah.
They throw up, but
like everything.
Yeah, both ends.
Yeah.
So they say
that's what I heard. It's like cleans your whole system out.
So they say don't eat, otherwise you want a better experience.
Yeah,
exactly. Unless you don't mind throwing up and shitting your brains out.
I don't really want to do that.
I don't think so. But I'm looking forward to that. I've been studying on this for 5 years.
A couple of my friends back in Nashville had gone and done it in the Caribbean, Dominican Republic.
Yeah.
And they said great experience, life changing. When they came back, felt so much clearer. They just felt clear, like on what they needed to do with their life, their goals, like all the bad energy flushed through their system. It was. I've never heard anything but great experiences.
I've never heard anything.
I have another client here that did one and said the same thing.
Oh.
He does it like every 2 years.
I've known people that like fix their marriages.
Mm-hmm.
It made them. I've known of several anecdotally people who went off to do these ayahuasca journeys and it solved they had addiction problems gone.
Right.
Smoking,
so it's like a whole
alcohol.
spiritual, mental, energy cleansing process.
There's a guy out there by the name of Paul Stamets. I was telling you about him. He's a fungi expert. So he's the world's leading expert on fungi, not just psychedelic mushrooms, but all kinds of them. But he understands DMT and all this other stuff. And he was on Joe Rogan's podcast about 2.5 years ago. Okay. And I listened to all 3 hours of it and it was a really great podcast. But he talked about this experience he had. So he when he was 17 or 18, he just graduated from high school. He lived in Ohio, and he wanted to try mushrooms.
Okay.
So he bought this bag of mushrooms, right?
Right.
Big old bag. He said a big bag, and he said he was walking home in the summer. It was summertime. So if you have anybody who's lived out in the Midwest, in the summertime it's fucking thunderstormy and it's hot and it could
depend on where you are.
Yeah, and he was in Ohio and it was thunderstormy, so it's lightning, it's raining. And he said, man. He said, I want to try these. So he pops it. He says, I don't know how much to take, so I just ate the whole bag.
The whole bag, right?
He's like, I didn't know if that was enough. Of course, it was a lot.
Yeah.
So he said, I started walking down this road that he's on, and about an hour later, shit starts to kick in. And he says, all of a sudden, man, he said, the fucking sky was like lighting up like a fucking Christmas tree. He's like, it was thunderstorming. So it looked amazing. He's like, fuck, this looks amazing. He's like, I gotta climb up in this tree, fucking get a better view of this shit. So he climbs up in this tree, and he's looking out, and he says, man, I don't know if I was there an hour or two. I'm just sitting there just like spacing out, like just enjoying the view, like watching all these lightning go up. And then he said, after about an hour or two goes by, he said, fuck, I'm in a tree in a lightning storm. What the fuck am I doing?
I've had people.
So he got out of the tree. But here's what, so he's walking, so he got out of the tree, he starts walking home, and he sees this girl that he liked in high school that on the street, she's walking down the street, and they meet. And previously, from when he was a kid until this time in his life, when he was 18, he said, I had a horrible stuttering problem. I literally couldn't get a word out of my mouth especially if I was talking to girls, because it made me so nervous. And he said, fuck, he said, as she came up to me, she said, oh, hey, Paul, how's it going? And he said, we had this 10-minute conversation. It was
no stutter.
No stutter. He said, we left. And I said, I realized, fuck, I didn't stutter. He's like, I fucking didn't stutter.
And he hasn't since.
He hasn't since. No. And he's like 65 years old.
Right. That's crazy.
And I said, and so Joe said, well, what do you think is happening? He said, well, and I think the same thing. This is what I think. And this is a combination of his understanding and my understanding. He thinks it rewires your brain.
Okay.
And I think what happens is that when you take a high dose of anything that causes a lot of DMT, dimethyltryptamine in the brain, your pineal gland will make it, but you could also, you get it when you take mushrooms or when you take ayahuasca.
Right.
It causes a massive overload of DMT in the brain, and that causes visuals and it causes hallucinations and all that stuff. But I believe this is what's happening, because after all the anecdotal evidence, it disassociates you from the part of your brain that is your ego, which is what you think about you or what you think, who you think you are.
Right.
That's not who you really are. It's who you think you are.
Right.
Like
who's not the version of other people see of you.
No, they have their own version.
Right. Exactly.
And then, but who we think we are, but that's not even who we really are.
Right.
We're seeing ourselves through the lenses of our experiences, of the meaning that we've ascribed to our lives, to all these things, right? And it's our ego, what we think we need, what we think we want,
or what we should be, or what we should be perceived as.
Exactly. So it dissociates from that. So people say the same things. They say, "Oh, I left my body." They can do these ayahuasca journeys or these DMT journeys. They go, "I left my body. I was in outer space. I didn't. All it was just consciousness, and it felt like love."
Right.
That's all it feels like. It just feels like love. And so that's what I think happens. And when you disassociate from that part of your brain, for some reason,
it puts it in check.
I think it help us to deprogram some of these programs that are running.
Put in individually into your
mind. Well, since we were born, we're essentially writing the program of our life.
Exactly.
We're always revising our operating system. Every time we have an experience, every time
good or bad, you're a product of the environment. Even if you're in a horrible experience, you're like, I don't want to be that. So you become better, or you become complacent, or the rhythm of it. Yeah.
So I think it has something to do with that. I think, and then when people come back, all the anecdotal evidence that I hear says, "Oh yeah, that this is what people say." I've interviewed at least 6 or 7 people who've done ayahuasca journeys, and I always ask them the same question at the end: "What was your takeaway?" And they always, like clockwork, they always say the same 2 things. Everything, when I left my body, everything felt like love. I feel like love. You feel like everything. And then the second thing they say is, everything's connected. You and I are not. You and I are not separate. We're not separate from our planet. We're not separate from our universe. Everything is connected.
Energy exchange.
So we're
right.
Yeah, it's like if you understand the quantum field theory, which is we exist in an energy field.
Right.
And so
energy's exchanged through everything.
Everything. And there's no distinction between it. We just perceive distinction.
Right.
Because of how we view things through our eyeballs and how our brain interprets it.
Yeah.
But really, when you put your hands together, if you were to go down to molecular level, you can't see the difference between the 2 hands. It looks like infinite space.
Right.
There's like space everywhere. But to us, it looks like a touching.
Right.
But it's really not.
It's not.
Everything is like that. There's more space in the universe than there's matter.
What's constant movement?
Right. Right. And that movement causes the vibration, which causes the frequency, which is what we usually interpret. But it's really interesting. All this stuff is really
it's super interesting.
What I was most interested in with all the psychedelics is I was never interested in this stuff before. Actually, I had girlfriends I had a previous girlfriend of mine who said, "You got to promise me you'll never take that shit." I'm like, I don't know if I can make that promise. I don't think I can make that promise. Because I want to investigate mind expansion.
Right. What we were talking about earlier too is there's so many things given by mushrooms, etc., that's not man-made that can have all these uses too to help. Like you said, the PTSD through microdosing mushrooms and things like that, where it's not becoming dependent on a chemical substance.
Right. And because there's like mushrooms and ayahuasca, you're not going to want to do this shit every weekend. Like, you don't want to do this shit every weekend. I mean, maybe some people do.
Even smoking marijuana, same thing. Sleep.
I want to do that every weekend. Yeah. I want to do that every night.
But like you said, sleeping, getting into REM sleep, different things, different ways, using different types.
Yeah, exactly. And I think, now I'm so glad, like Oregon did it right. Oregon, they essentially legalized everything. So they essentially, so you can't be arrested in Oregon. It's not illegal to possess or use anything. Right. I think every state should do this.
I mean, it's not.
Don't make criminals out of users.
Right.
I mean, I don't like people trafficking the shit. Okay, maybe that's not a good idea.
Yeah.
But
you don't need to go buy a kilo every day.
I mean,
I guess you could, but
that's your business. But actually, when I bought, I got some MDMA a couple years ago, one of my buddies, and we would order it from the source. Right. I don't know how he got this. He had some dark web shit thing that he was doing.
I don't understand.
I don't understand that shit either. So, but he ordered it, and we got like, I don't know how many grams of it. Like it was a fucking bunch of powder. He's like, here, man, here's half of it. And I'm like, okay.
I'm like, what do I do?
It was like,
I
think it was like $1,000 worth.
Right.
And I used that shit for 2 years.
Yeah.
I think I still have two capsules that I made from it. And I was like, damn, like, but it was really interesting because I've used other people they got there's some press tabs out there.
There's a bunch. Well, you have like the ecstasy tabs, which are the press tabs, different dosing and different.
But this
butter
to me,
whatever. But
and they put shit with it.
Mm-hmm.
So like they cut it with like sometimes they'll cut it with fucking whatchamacallit, scary shit. I think it's scary. Like crack or not crack, but meth.
Meth, yeah.
Fuck.
No, I don't want to be up for
I don't want
2 days either.
And I don't want to. Man, people get addicted to that shit fast.
Instantly.
I don't want that.
No, not at all.
Have you seen what the?
I trust me, I get it. I mean,
I look at the motherfucker's teeth.
Yeah.
If you got fucked up teeth, if that drugs are fucking up your teeth, I don't want nothing to do with that shit.
It's doing all kinds of other stuff to your body too. You probably can't even see.
Get
scabs.
Yeah, what's up with that?
I don't know enough about it to even talk.
Itch themselves to death, and oh man, it's horrible.
But it's an addiction. I mean, people get bad. I mean, I'm from the South, and it's a huge thing. You know,
I lived
like West Tennessee, and
there's that place right outside of Marietta, California. What is it? It was like the fucking meth capital of the United States.
Oklahoma.
Like fuck, man. I mean, like monthly, there would be like a trailer that blew up because somebody's trying to cook some shit up, and this stuff is highly caustic and flammable. Right. So I guess it's easy to blow up shit. I don't know.
I'd have to do some research on how the process is, but I know it's super dangerous.
It's very dangerous, yeah. But I don't
go watch Breaking Bad. Figure it out.
Well, that's the reason why I don't like buying like pre-made stuff. Like that's what I wanted to do.
Because you never know what's in it.
I just don't know what's in it. I just wanted the pure MDMA because I don't like narcotics.
Right.
They scare me. It's just me.
I get it.
My mom raised me to like be afraid of the shit. It's like we would drive down. Like I grew up in Vegas.
Okay.
So like I was born in California, Southern California, but I grew up in Vegas because I had allergies. So the doctor suggested that we move to a dry place. And my mother said, okay, we'll go to Vegas. We have family there. So we moved to Vegas. And I remember we would be driving down. This is what my mother taught us. We would be driving down the road and we'd see like somebody on the side of the road, like a homeless person or a drug addict. You could tell they were fucking fucked up. And she'd say, look, boy, see that guy over there? He's like, yeah. Do you think he got A's in school?
And you're like,
she's like, do you think he just looked like a winner to you? Like this is my mother's language. She's like, and it's like, well, it's like, what do you think he's doing? We think he's doing drugs, probably, right? Do you want to be like that?
No.
Okay, well then don't do the shit that he's doing.
It's like ingrained from the,
and that made a difference.
Well, it's just like product of the environment, like we were talking about earlier, how you were raised, it instilled.
Now you grew up in Tennessee.
Well, I was born in Virginia, all over. Tennessee, Alabama, North Carolina.
Alabama, fuck, I love that. I
was in Alabama when I was a kid.
I had
Birmingham.
Oh shit! I had a girlfriend that was from Alabama.
Okay.
Oh man, she got me hooked.
That's like South.
She got me hooked.
People talk very different there. I'm like, you think I'm Southern accent? No.
When I hear a Southern woman talk to me, it just turns me on. So I'm like,
I've heard it my whole life.
I don't know why, man. I just like going
that slow Southern drawl.
Yeah, it's that Southern drawl. I just like it. It's like, and also my family, my mother, they're all from Arkansas.
Oh, that's what you said.
Yeah, so I am used to growing up with, and I grew up with all women. Like I didn't have any male influences except for my uncle, but he's a scientist. He was always in the lab. And so Southern hospitality, it resonates with me.
I mean, it is a thing.
I'm polite. I'm nice to people. I get it from my mother. It was really important thing. My mother went to finishing school, with the fucking book on her head and shit. And so when I grew up, I had to have my hands in my lap at the table. I had to ask for it to be excused. I had to have proper manners.
All the fork settings, place setting. This goes to this. This goes to this.
I had to do this.
9 pieces of silver. Come on, this goes here. This goes to this. You got to wait on this one.
That shit's important.
Let's work outside in and then up. That's how it works. Outside in and up.
That shit is important.
It is. Yeah.
So but for whatever reason, man, I realize now as I'm older that stuff I like. Because I've been with all these women who aren't like this.
Right.
And I'm like, man, like this is the shit that I want.
It's definitely something to be said about the South and
that grits tastes fucking awesome.
Greens. Turnip greens and collard greens. I'm telling you. It's life changing.
Grits, I don't like with cheese.
And macaroni and cheese is not from Kraft Box. You got to make it from scratch.
Well, I grew up, we were pretty poor, man. So I grew up like top ramen and fucking mac and cheese from Kraft mac and cheese. So it was kind of funny. My ex-wife was Italian, and she used to make her own, and she was awesome. And everybody loved it except for me. I'm like, this don't taste like Kraft macaroni and cheese.
See, the homemade to me is like biscuits and gravy, but the biscuits are made from scratch.
Oh man, now you're talking about language. This is gravy.
Pork tenderloin, like fried pork tenderloin in the iron skillet that's never been cleaned.
This is not bodybuilding food. This is not bodybuilding food.
This is off season. This is how you get fat.
Hey man, that shit is good. It tastes good. But every morning,
this is refeed food.
Well, I remember waking up when I was a kid. Every morning I would wake up and sometimes I'd be with my grandmother because she watched us a lot. And she's the only one that really wanted to watch us because we were fucking terrible. We were terrible kids. We were fucking throwing tantrums and shit. And every morning was beautiful. I'd wake up and I could smell the food she was cooking.
Oh, yeah.
And my grandma,
like out of bed.
And every morning it was like bacon, eggs, biscuits. She'd do cornbread. And I'm like, everything. It's a full boiled 7-course meal. I was like, oh man, but it was
going to
good.
Every morning it would be same thing, biscuits, bacon, and then the dogs ate the leftovers. Never had dog food. Never bought dog food. I'm going to
take a guess. Your grandmother probably had a can of a Folgers can of fucking bacon grease under the sink. It was straight up in the old. She probably bought 1 can of Crisco her whole life, and then you kept the grease. And it was the same thing. That's the best one, though. That's a Southern thing.
Yeah, it is.
You cook with that shit.
Oh, yeah, 100%.
And bacon, I don't care. I love my Muslim friends, but bacon makes everything taste good.
It is. But it's 100 grams of fat at every meal.
Oh, of course.
At least. Not bodybuilding food.
My ex-girlfriend and I used to have this funny joke. She'd say, because she loved bacon. And she'd say, oh, yeah, I love you more than bacon. I'm like, what?
I'm not big on pork anymore. But I will eat bacon. I can't get Kristen to eat bacon. But
really?
No,
bacon's good.
No pork. I like sneak it in sometimes. It's like, this is really good. What are you putting it? I don't know.
You just
now I'm
bacon.
in trouble. I gave away my secret.
Oh shit! Say don't. It's the cook secret.
It didn't really happen. Just eat it.
So, what? Just so that people who don't know you, where did you grew up in Tennessee?
I grew up in
Virginia.
North Carolina, and then Tennessee.
God damn, you were all over the South, weren't you?
All over. My dad was getting promoted through his company. He's been with the same company since he graduated college. Still with him, going to retire with him. But it was right.
What does he do?
He's the director of operations for Yellow Roadway, so logistics.
Oh, okay.
Trucking, and then my mom's dad owned Service Transport, which is another trucking company.
Oh,
so I'm far from the family business.
You're like, I don't want to be part of this shit.
Only tattooed one, only musclehead. But all my cousins were D1 athletes. We were all football players. Pretty much everybody was.
Okay.
Huge. I'm the shortest one in my family by like 5 inches.
And you're 6'1".
I'm like right under 6'1", yeah. They're all like 6'5". My grandfather's like the biggest man I've ever seen. He's 6'5", 6'6", 360 still.
See, now I'm
strongest. I mean, it's funny. I'll tell you a story about him. I sent him to another trainer.
Your dad?
No, this is my grandfather.
Oh, your grandfather.
And when he was probably 60, and he wanted to get in shape.
What's your grandfather's name?
Dennis.
Yeah, okay.
Okay, so he goes in. My buddy Dion, he's a pro classic guy because it was just close to their house. Good trainer. He goes in. He's like, "Oh, I want a bench press." Puts 400 pounds on.
Your grandfather
just starts repping.
How old is this dude?
He was probably 16. Never lifted a weight in his life. I mean, straight farm strength. I watch him pull a trampoline with one hand, hook it up.
God damn.
Yeah, just insane. I mean, scariest man I've ever met. He would pick me up. I'd do something wrong. He'd snatch me up on my belt and hold me up like this.
So you should have been an athlete, bro. Damn. Well, yeah. Well, that wasn't me. So then
So then I started training. Went to school. Started training.
You played football.
Played football. Came back to Nashville. Started training. It was just going to work with athletes. So I'll tell you a little bit how I got into it, because this is a little bit of a horror story. I am not a bro science guy at all. Not tilapia, not asparagus. So my buddy who I'm training with says, hey, get into bodybuilding. You know, it'll give you something else to compete in. I had some injuries with my back playing football. Go into bodybuilding. Let a guy.
And you have a great physique. I
appreciate it.
No, you have a great physique. Small, tiny ass waist.
Tiny waist, big shoulders, big back.
He says he's going to be classic this year, but I'm trying to get
him into bodybuilding. I'm like, I don't want to be 300 pounds in the offseason.
Oh, yeah.
It's coming. Coming back from the injury. But so I let a guy prep me, and he literally depleted me and malnourished me so much that my eyelashes fell out.
If your eyelashes are falling out, there's a problem.
Less food than what I would send one of my bikini clients right now. I mean, I'm talking, it was like tilapia and asparagus, 7 meals a day. 5 ounces of tilapia, 2 hours of cardio. My metabolism was fucked. Didn't work.
God damn.
Eyelashes falling out. Taking more clean than you can imagine. I'm like trying to write like this.
He had you do that because it's counteracting the effects of
right.
the metabolic slowdown.
So where I really got it was, I'm going into a show. He gives me a LASIK. Then tells me I'm cramping, tells me to take potassium. The girl who's with me was a nurse. Said, you cannot take potassium. You are going to
Not
die.
with LASIK.
You're going to have you potassium sparing, non-potassium sparing. It'll kill you. It'll stop your heart. Didn't take it calm. He forgot what water pill he had put me on. He had thought it was told me Diazide, had given me a LASIK, and was just like, man, I'm sorry.
Even if he gave you Diazide, it's still
potassium. Still shouldn't be taking it. So I start looking at him like, well, I know all this nutrition stuff. So I'm like, I have to make changes. Like, I want to come into it.
When did he tell you to take the LASIK?
I started Friday night before the show.
Okay.
It was just last minute.
Okay. That's the way it should be.
But I mean, I hadn't had water in 2 days at that point either.
Well,
no sodium, no water.
You should have never.
It was a horrible prep. It was a nightmare. I looked not even good. I couldn't even fill out. I was depleted.
Of course,
I'll find some pictures of it. It was bad.
Okay.
And so I take over my buddy's prep, and I'm like, you know what? I was like, I want to do this the right way where people are healthy. So I started feeding people. Start feeding bikini girls. Start feeding athletes, and they're going to shows, and people are like, man, I can't wait to eat. And they're smashing muffins before they go on stage, eating cookies. They're like, I'm eating 500 grams of carbs a week in my peak week. I just pull it down. There's science behind how this works.
When I tell someone to do some of this stuff, they go, really? Are you sure?
Yeah.
Well, I do that. I have done this for 36 years.
Well, it's amazing if you understand how to increase a metabolic threshold. I'm like, eat carbs, you get leaner. The problem is when you put carbs and a bunch of fat in, of course, you're going to get fat. But if you do carbs are the only thing that the more of them you eat, the faster your metabolism.
That's right.
So it's literally like taking a fire, start a fire this big, start loading.
It's like throwing logs on it.
And it's like pouring gasoline on it at the end, and you just watch the bodies change, and then they're full, and they're hard, and their skin's saran wrapped. They're not starving. They're doing 30 minutes of cardio, maybe.
I think part of the resistance comes from what it takes to diet down and what it takes to look good for a show the last week is very, very different.
Very different.
So you got to. I tell people, man, you got to just stop fucking thinking.
I'm like, just trust us.
Yeah, don't think.
When you've done it this long, you put between the two of us. I'm sure we have multiple IFBB pros.
Several dozen.
Yeah, and plus hundreds of national competitors, lots of local competitors. And there's a science behind it. And there's not a reason that you need to starve or be miserable during prep.
So this is one of the things that we talked about earlier. I want to tell everybody this because it's kind of important. Because I have seen and you have seen all these inconsistencies in like a lot of the coaching. And it's the biggest thing. When people come to me, it's the biggest thing. It's
right,
absolutely. I didn't have the right response from my last coach. He didn't get me in shape. I didn't feel good. Blah, 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 blah. I'm like, well, it's because they're young. They don't know what they're doing. They're working off of bro science.
Yeah.
Of a shit, and they don't have the right tactics. And it's just because of inexperience.
And it is, and then it's too. I love having a lot of clients, and you have a lot of clients. I have a lot of clients, but when you get into the cookie cutter on everything, it's you just don't give people the experience. People are trusting their life to you at that point, so you have to take it seriously, and you have to figure out what works for them. Some people's carb intolerances, and it's just like. I'm going to use Kristen as an example for this. So she worked with another coach, great coach. She looked okay. And then
I like it. Great coach. She looked okay.
But it was bro science. And this guy was feeding her, and I was training her just doing workouts because I refused. I was like, I'm not letting nutrition get in the way. And I had another guy that was
you can't do these workouts. You need to talk to you.
And I was like, he said, you just need to take over nutrition. Great guy. He actually coached Lee Haney. Amazing coach. Big Rick.
Who was he?
Big Rick.
Yeah.
So he was kind of my mentor on a lot of stuff. I trained with him.
He's a good guy.
And he's a great guy. And he said, you need to do her nutrition. I was like, man, I really just don't want to get in the middle of a relationship. And then I looked at her diet, and she was figure at the time. And I said, I'm not going to train you anymore unless I do your nutrition because you're wasting my time on the workouts. I'm like, you weren't getting enough protein, enough ATP delivery that the muscle wasn't going to grow. I was just depleting everything out of it, and you weren't doing anything to full it. So she was losing muscle mass.
Okay, so I got an idea. Just right now, just as you're talking. I know you want me to prep you.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I'm going to do that. But I want you to prep me.
Deal.
Because
done.
I always do myself for years.
I'm the same, and you can't look at it the same.
No, I make different decisions for myself.
I do too.
I'm like, I can take this. I can do this.
My problem too is I'm like,
and then I just, in the past, I've just used drugs to like cover up the rest.
And that's the thing. And I'm like, I'm a minimalist. I want to get the most out of the least amount I can take.
Exactly.
Like, you need to be taking growth, insulin, 1,500 milligrams a test, 600 milligrams a deca, 100 milligrams a deca. To win an amateur show, you don't need, like, there's better ways to do it.
But I think sometimes when it's you,
I'm
like, you know too much. Like, I'm too smart for my own good.
My problem is I'm like, when am I? I'm just gonna eat this tub of ice cream right now.
I remember even when I won my national title and all that stuff, I was having cheat meals all the way to the fucking show. I could handle them, and I still look great. But
in doing that too, I think the biggest thing about, and I'll say it to anybody looking for a coach, is don't go to somebody just looking to give you basic. You have to trust the person. You have to vibe with them. If I didn't like Tad, I wouldn't trust him to do it. Like, I'm like, cool, I might have all these pros and do all this, but if I don't agree with what you're doing with my body, I'm going to be doubting you the whole time. I had that kind of experience, and I should say, I had that experience with DJ. DJ did a good job for me. Right? I worked with DJ. I worked with Tim Gardner before. Okay. He was good, and I only chose him because he was Japanese. I hate to say that. I chose him as Japanese because I liked him. I judge with him. He's a great guy. He's a wonderful promoter. But he wanted to cut my sodium like 2 weeks out from the show, and I'm like, dude, I don't respond well, man. I said, I'm not telling you, the science doesn't bear this out. Work.
I said, man, I can't do that, but I did it, and I looked like shit.
You were flat. You couldn't.
I couldn't.
Your muscle couldn't hold any water.
But he doesn't. He's very old school. Right. He's very, very
old school.
No problem with that. I did it. We did good at the shows. He didn't do a bad job, but I just know that there were things that.
Oh, it's 100. Well, I mean, if you go back to 70s era, early 80s, look at the difference in the conditioning. And it's just
they were still getting lean.
They were getting lean, but it's still like, look at the leg separation. Yep. And there, a lot of
now
times,
everyone's so dry.
And overall, I'm saying is overall. Now, you're always going to have that genetic freak that it's like, cool, we had this guy, and he was an NFL player, and he can eat anything. And it doesn't matter what he eats. The more he eats, the leaner he gets. He can eat candy and ice cream every day, and if he'll eat 6 meals, he's shredded. I mean, it's stupid. I'll introduce you to him. He's awesome. He comes in the gym. Chris actually does all his therapy work. Great guy. But it's insane. Like, I'm like, what'd you eat last night? He's like, I had like 4 cheeseburgers yesterday, some pizza. And I'm like, you're like 5% body. Like, you could go win a men's physique show right now. Like, just walk on stage.
So normally normally my body stays pretty lean. I have a very difficult time putting on body fat. I have actually a hard time maintaining weight. And I don't have a big appetite.
Right.
But I know, and I'm like you. I like my body responds best high carb, high protein, low fat.
And meal frequency. Meal frequency is my biggest thing. I could eat 6 meals of shit and be leaner than eating 3 meals of clean.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Okay. I have to have the food going.
I like clean meals.
Yeah. I mean, I prefer clean meals and just a lot of clean.
Otherwise, if I eat dirty meals, man, there's too much fat in them, it kills my appetite.
I mean, I'm like you said, we'll talk about it a little bit, but like I'm 8 months, full tricep tear.
Okay, so I'm going to go on record. I'm going to go on record. So here we're going to go on record here today. The Dennis James Classic, right?
Or AZ Open.
Let's do Dennis James.
We'll do Dennis James.
It's June 5th. It's my birthday.
Yep.
Special day.
Yep.
So we'll get you ready for that, and then the USAs.
Then USAs or North Americans.
USAs.
It's
going to be like a month away.
All right, let's do
that. So from DJ to that, because anything we learn from that, we'll be able to correct it. Yeah, we'll do.
But so we got 8 months rehab, no gear,
right?
Shitty eating, completely.
That's right. You ripped your tire,
whole thing.
So they get that scar right there.
Right there.
But you did whoever you got, you did a great job.
Did amazing, Dr. Sheridan. One of the best in the country.
Okay, so
he's good. I'm
you got the right girl.
I have the best physical therapist out there.
So we're good there, and you have a great physique. I mean,
I appreciate it.
You do have great. So, but I still think when I look at
you still want me to be a bodybuilder.
I still want you to be a bodybuilder. I just know what it's going to look like.
Yeah, I know.
And I'm saying, man, I've never been wrong, man.
Well, I'm going to trust you. I mean, you're in charge. I'm handing the keys over to you, and it takes a lot for me to do that.
But I will say that I really love the classic division.
I like the look. I like the posing. I like the waist taper.
But I want to see. This is what I want. This is my idea. I want to bring that look to the open bodybuilding. Man, fuck, man, you're the right stature. You're the right weight. I know we can get you eventually get you on stage at 275. I know it.
Okay.
I know this. And then fuck Rami. You heard it here first. You heard it here first. And then my goal is I want to get my weight back up to about 225 lean. I don't want to.
We'll get to 250.
Okay, 250. Normally, I remember.
I wasn't talking about off season. I'm talking about lean.
Okay, yeah, no. Normally in the off season, I would run around to like 245, 255. 275 was my biggest. Or 272 was my biggest. But man, I remember walking around 272. Oh man, I remember I tell the story.
The problem is walking upstairs and tying your shoes.
Oh, dude, I had to take out my first wife.
Like I can barely breathe.
My first wife used to give me shit. She used to make fun of me because I would sit down to a meal and I had to take my shirt off because I knew I was going to sweat. I knew I was going to start sweating.
Oh, I was like, we went on a date. I told you this story to Fogo de Chao, the all-you-can-eat place, and I literally sweated through my shirt. I was like, see, look, 6 weeks out through the shirt, dripping from sweat, and I'm sorry, I don't even know what to say right now.
But I tell people, like, if you sweat during your cheat meal, it means we're doing it right.
That's how
we're doing it right. It's exactly what it should be doing.
I mean, I sweat when I sleep.
That's all right. That's good.
And my door's open. It's been great. I open the door. It's 40 degrees outside, and my cover's off.
Sometimes I walk out, like especially when it's been cool here lately. Oh, like man, I get hot at night, so like I get up. And I'll fucking go out in my backyard in my fucking in my boxers. I'm like, fuck, man, I just want to feel the cool.
My problem though is sleep eating. I get so hungry every 2 hours. As soon as I start dieting, I will wake up every 2.5 hours and eat and go back to sleep. So this is the worst part though. So we got muffins. We were doing muffins pre-workout. In the middle of the night, I got up and ate the tops off all the muffins. I had no idea I did it. Like literally, the next day I get a video. What the fuck is this? Kristen sends it to me and it's like lightning bolts. And all the tops are gone. I didn't even know I did it. I had no clue.
I don't know. Fuck this up.
I was like, ghost.
Wasn't me. Well, you know that happens to people who use Ambien.
I mean, yeah.
So like,
I just get hungry.
So like, I've had many clients who've used Ambien, right? And I had one client. I remember she was like, "Oh man, she couldn't lose weight." I'm like, "Man, are you doing my diet?" And she's like, "Yeah, I'm doing it." And then I'm like, "Well, tell me what else you're doing. Like, what else?" And she's like, "Well, I use Ambien. The doctor prescribed me some Ambien because I have a hard time sleeping." I said, "Okay." I said, "I don't like that drug because it's in the same classification as a hallucinogen.
Right?
It's technically a hallucinogen,
100%."
And she's like, "But it does help us sleep." So I said, "Okay, well, take it if you need to take it." And then 2 weeks later, she calls me. She's like, "Oh my God, I figured out why I'm not losing any weight." I said, "What's wrong?" "Well, I woke up this morning and I looked under my bed and I saw all these fucking candy wrappers." And I'm like, "What do you mean you found candy wrappers?" I said, "Well, shit. Well, apparently I'm getting up in the middle of the night and I'm eating Snickers bars and candy and shit, and I just throw it under my bed. And it's because of this Ambien. Apparently, in the studies, they found out that people sleepwalk and they binge eat when they fucking use this fucking drug."
Okay, so I have a guy that I prepped, and he was doing peanut butter was his problem. His wife comes out. He's like 3-4 weeks out from a show. He's eating asparagus, dipping it in peanut butter raw, and eating it.
This is okay, but I'm eating asparagus with it.
So what we had to do was, those like cages with a lock on it?
Yeah.
So he got a lock, would lock the food that was on his diet that he couldn't eat, like his peanut butter and stuff, in his fridge and put the lock on it and give the key to his wife to hide so he couldn't get to it at night. I had to do it. Could not stop him.
I remember, that reminds me, a couple of years ago, I had a client who said, she had a hard time fucking digging in the refrigerator. And I said, at night. And so she said, "Look, she said, I'm going to send you a picture. I fucking solved my problem." And she fucking put a chain lock around her cabinets in her fucking refrigerator with a fucking chain with a goddamn padlock. She said, "I just know this is going to work." And it worked. I was like, whatever works, man.
When I wake up starving, like when my metabolism goes, it's part of the reason why I don't sleep. I told you, like every 2-3 hours, I wake up, I'm like, "Oh my God,
we're gonna master the sleep thing.
So hungry.
We're gonna master the sleep thing.
But I think part of it too is training in Arizona. We train at an outside gym. With the COVID and everything, it's great because we can train. But when you're in the heat for 12 hours a day training clients, it's hard to get in all the food. I'm like, man, I don't want to eat this chicken and rice meal of all this out there hot meals.
Do you eat while you train people?
Yeah, I have to.
Okay, yeah.
My schedule's back to back. There's
I know. I saw your schedule's fucking insane.
I'm like, I schedule in time to train with you and get some therapy work done, train with Chris, and that's about it. And I'm like,
tell her to like partition some time for me.
Yeah, I know you're
because I never have time, man. I'm always fighting for time. For
we got to get therapy's a big thing for you. Getting all those muscles to fire right.
Dude,
I'm years about that.
I got shit that's going on that's probably like fucking a decade or two
But
old.
the worst part about it is it's good. I recommend it to everybody. But since I've been doing it regularly, now I have all these other things coming up because my muscles opening up and it's like, oh man, but it's restructuring the body. Yeah.
But I'm gonna tell you, man, with everything that we're doing, you add that in plus everything we're doing, and then 12 months from now, you're gonna be a whole new you.
Oh, for sure. It's just getting through that initial. I'm like, oh, what is this? Had that ulnar nerve thing going.
I know, you got a weird.
I don't really know what that is, but
it's just. I think what's going on is I think you said because you had this tricep.
I overcompented so much with this arm.
But I don't see a lot of size difference.
It's like 2 inches, but I actually didn't.
Is it really?
Much, yeah, I mean, I lost a lot on this, but
it doesn't.
The muscle's still there. I didn't atrophy too bad.
You have your muscles are weird. Your muscles have thickness. You have long muscle bellies.
Long.
I have medium.
You have
medium. So like when
especially in my arm though.
So like I can always see my split. I can always see it.
I don't get a split, but then I have a big, huge outer head too.
But you have you're thick here, you're thick here, you're thick here. Like you're like a real athlete. I'm not.
I'm not the fucking. But I didn't get into training for aesthetics. I don't think I trained arms till I was like 24.
Really?
Oh well, you need them to get in the way of mobility. I'm like bench press, incline, squat. Shit ton of hang cleans.
So I'm working with this boy. He's a young man.
Okay.
He's like 16, 17. One of my personal friends, one of my friend's sons, Brian Beck. He and I used to train together at college, and he was like a defensive back at Oregon State. He was like ranked 9 in the country. He got drafted. He got drafted by the Redskins. And then he had to forego that. They dropped him because his girl. This is fucked up. And I'm gonna tell the story. Sorry, Brian. I'm gonna tell the story. So Brian, he and I used to work out, and he was a really great running back, a really great defensive back. And so he got a contract, like a $4 or $5 million contract with the Redskins. I'm like, awesome, man. By the way, that next year, the fucking Redskins went to the Super Bowl. So he breaks up with his girlfriend, and he starts dating his new girlfriend, which is his wife today after like 30 years of marriage. He started dating this girl, and he really loved her. So, but he didn't, he broke up with his ex-girlfriend, and his ex-girlfriend calls the police and says he raped her.
What?
Yeah, because he broke up with her, right? And so I'm like, fuck. And so he comes to me. He comes to the gym. We're working out. He's like, hey man, I might be going in for a little while. I'm like, what are you talking about going in? He's like, I'm going to prison. I'm like, what the fuck are you talking about? He's like, because he was a Crip. He was in a Sacramento Playboy. Okay. He was in the set. I don't remember a set, but he was like a Playboy gangster Crip. He was a really cool dude to me. I love him. He's a stand-up dude, but that's where he came from.
Right.
And so he said, hey man, I might be going in, and if I go in, I got to go in hard. He said, no one's gonna fuck with me. I said, why? What's happening? He told me the story. He's like, well, I broke up with my girlfriend. She claimed I raped her. And I'm like, did you? He said, no, man. No. He's like, no, she's my girlfriend. I'm like, she's just upset that I broke up with her and I started dating some other chick. And so they go to court. They throw it out of court because they're like, because all his friends vouch for him. They're like, this is bullshit. And the judge is smart enough to figure out, this is bullshit. Yeah. But they dropped him.
Right.
Because the Redskins were like, we don't want any trouble.
We don't want any of the stigma or whatever. Yeah.
So flash forward. So he stayed.
It's a crazy thing. It ruins careers. I mean,
bodybuilders. Well, actually, it empowered him. He said he told me later he was glad it happened because he ended up staying in school and got his master's in education, and then ended up becoming these principals. These Edison. They were called Edison Project schools. Mm-hmm. So he would go to the inner cities,
like mentoring.
Well, he would go
from the background where he was from.
Right, exactly. So he would go to inner cities, so like DC, LA, all these places, these big cities, and he would go to the inner city schools, and he would take over the school, these failing schools, because they were failing.
And turn them.
They weren't. The graduation rates weren't right.
Right, super low.
Yeah, because the
dropout rate real high.
Right, exactly. So he would go in there and he would turn them around, and he said, like he was remember you ever see that movie Stand by Me, motherfucker, with what's his name?
Trying to think. I don't know if I saw it.
He was a great actor.
He might have just picked one movie I've never seen. Like the only movie. I'm like a movie head.
I love
movies. All I do is watch.
It's what's his name? Anyways, it was a true story about this guy. Anyways, he would lock the doors, chain the doors and stuff. And he said, I did the same thing, man. And I said, why, man? He said, because these fucking students who aren't fucking students, they don't belong in the school. They come into school, they're selling their drugs and shit, and they're fucking up these kids. And he said, sorry, man, you come to my school, you're stuck here. You got to do your shit, and I'm locking you out. And he had a really great success rate. So he turned out to be a great success. That's great. He has a son, and his son is fucking really good at football, just like he was.
And you were talking about him the other day.
I was, because I was impressed.
Right.
And I'm like, okay, because he calls me and says, hey, man, I want you to work with my son. So you're the only person I trust. I said, he's going to be like your son from now on, man. I was like, I'm like, okay, bro, because he knows we love each other, man. Right. I love Brian. He's an awesome dude. He and I I'm going to know him for a lifetime. But I said, so tell me about your son. He said, man, and his son's a good dude. He's a good kid. He's a straight A student. Because he's like, Brian's like, no. We're going to get an education. He's going to be good at football, but we're going to get an education too.
Right.
But his son runs a 40 in like 4.6. And he doesn't even know running form.
So he's just natural. His dad's NFL athlete, right?
I think his dad was running a 4.4, 4.5.
DB,
I think he was running. It was real fast. Yeah, and he was all chest. We would go in the gym, and I was like, "Dude, we don't work chest every fucking day."
Right.
I said, "You got to work those goddamn legs." I always fuck with him with that shit.
DBs never train legs. No, they were just fast.
Yeah, he was like 185 pounds, all upper body.
Right.
It was just hilarious. He's a total like.
They probably had huge abductors, just like from back then. They're just like hanging off.
He could bench like a motherfucker, right? Like his upper body, everything's good, but lower body, not so much. I'm like, you want to squat today? He's like, no, what the fuck are you talking about? But anyways, his son, I was really impressed because his son is so fast, and so I'm hoping, like my theory is that I'll get this motherfucker under 4. Yeah. I'm gonna get him under 4. He's gonna be running
like a 4.4 guy.
Yeah. Oh yeah. And
how old is he?
He's 16.
Oh, easy.
And he doesn't even know running form yet.
Right. So he doesn't bands out, do some explosions.
He doesn't know anything. And so I start feeding him now. So I start training him, and I'm working with him. He lives in where the fuck they live? Fucking New Jersey. No. I mean, I'm not Jersey, but somewhere in the South, Louisiana.
Okay.
And so I think Louisiana. Shit, I hope I'm right. Anyways, schools are already recruiting him.
Okay.
They're already asking for him. So that's why he's going to be hot. But I want to get him under 4.
Yeah, get him.
Like I'm saying. So I said, just do it. So him and his dad and I had a conversation. He's like, I said, what are your goals for this? We need to get his weight up because he's light. He's 6'1". He's like your height.
She's like a free safety guy.
Yeah, exactly, precisely. Yeah. So I'm like, okay, well, here's what we're gonna do. We're gonna get you close to 4, as close as we can to 4 this year, and we're gonna get your weight up. Yeah. It was like, so that's what we're doing. So week 2, he's already like perfect. Couple pounds up. So he's already responding. He's like, dude, I fucking.
He's probably loved the food. He's like,
he's like, give me all of it. I think he thought that I was gonna starve him. Like, no, bro, you're gonna eat
peanut butter and jelly and milkshakes. Post training.
Actually,
as soon as you get home.
I had a buddy. I had a really good friend of mine who I love to death, man. He's another great football player. He played Canadian football.
Okay.
And his name's Donnie. I love him. He lives in San Diego. And you'll eventually get to bed. Okay. He's gonna come up. But he played Canadian pro ball. And he told me these wild fucking stories. And I said, well, why were he said, man, when I was in high school, he said, my coaches told me I needed to gain weight. He's 6'1", he's your height. Right. And he weighed 170 pounds, something like that. He said, I was so skinny. Right. He said, so they told me I needed to gain weight. He said, so I said, okay, I was 16. He said, so I said, okay. So I went home and I said, all summer I ate peanut butter jelly sandwiches, much as I could. Because that's all I could afford.
That's was
But he got up to like 210 pounds.
Ice cream sandwiches.
Oh shit!
Post workout. When Santa we would go down. Me and my buddy Steve would go down and see him, and he wrote an off season for me one time, and it was one of my favorite off seasons ever. He would have like 3 turkey burgers. Post-workout, 4 ice cream sandwiches, 50 grams of whey protein. I put on a ton of sauce. This is way before Classic even existed. I was trying to get to like that 300, what you want to do, basically. And that was a fun one.
Well,
that was my first run with insulin.
Well, Donnie, I remember he told me, he said, yeah, then my coaches the next year, I get through the summer, I do all this peanut butter and jelly sandwich thing the whole summer, right? He says, yeah, I'm gaining weight, I'm doing good, I'm working out every day. And he said, like, go back and we're practicing. And I said, over the last week, the coach was like, Donnie Cochran, please come to the coach's office. We need to talk to you. He's like, go to the coach. I said, what's up, coach? He's like, Donnie, are you doing shit that you shouldn't be doing?
He thought it was on gear.
Yeah, he thought it was on gear. He's like, what do you?
It's a kid.
He said, what do you mean?
Yeah.
He says, are you doing drugs, man? Are you doing steroids? He's like, why do you ask that? He goes, well, you gained fucking 40 pounds in the summer.
I mean,
he's like, well, you told me to work out and eat a lot.
You're growth spurt. You're in that. But he got his man strength in a little bit.
I've worked with this man in his adult life, and he fucking responds. Like, he doesn't even need drugs.
Well, I mean, and two, even in like talking about dirty food and stuff too, a lot of times when I go in, I've done this before, going into like a pre-prep, put fast food in post-workout because the fat-burning enzymes kick, and they'll carry for a couple of months. If you have a guy that's leaner, like a naturally lean guy trying to gain a bit, go eat 4 McDonald's double cheeseburgers every day. I did it with my buddy
Burger King.
Yeah, Burger King, whatever. And
I like Burger King.
My buddy Jake, we could not put weight on him. We did it, went almost a whole prep with no cardio. His fat-burning enzymes got so high. Feed him, then dump the carbs in. More and more and more and more and more. Kid walks on stage, wins his first show. 6'4", huge, just smashed everything.
Oh, man.
Great physique. But, I mean, it's just, there's all these different tools you can use, but like peanut butter and jelly, milkshakes. They're not bad in the right way.
It's like basic, simple shit.
Yeah, and do it in your meal firing, manipulate blood sugar levels. If you're doing it right, you use it.
Well, I mean, I think a lot of times there's a lot of common
misconception,
right?
Or stigma.
There's a lot of I think in the 80s and the late 70s, early 80s, the one thing that we did here in the United States, in the Western world, there were several studies that were manufactured that were incorrect. They suggested to the American public that low-fat, low-sodium diets were effective. And that's exactly the fucking opposite.
Right. Well, I mean, you do need fats. I'm a low-fat diet guy, but I'm a super high-sodium guy.
Right. You need sodium and you need fat. You don't need to, over-consume fat.
Right.
But you need to get fat in your diet.
But your body won't drop the fat.
But I don't know if you remember, I grew up in the 80s and the 90s where everything's low fat. No, I mean, I know the error and I know how it is. Well, and then you had that big keto trend, and then you had. Now, I'm not knocking any of this because there's ways. 100%, there's ways to use keto to reset hormone panels, but keto is not necessarily tilapia and asparagus. People are like, oh, I'm keto. I have no carbs. Well, you're not keto. You got to have a lot of fat. Understand what you're saying you're doing here. Your body has to rely on ketone bodies for energy. And you have to set up that biochemical environment very specifically.
And then the crazy thing to me is they're like, oh, well, I'm doing keto, but then I'm refeeding twice a week with 500 grams of carbs.
I want the alcohol diet.
Yeah, perfect.
The bourbon diet. Can I have the bourbon diet, please?
Yeah, it makes your beard shiny, too.
I know, I got this. I was talking to, who the fuck was I talking to? I can't remember. God damn it. I'm horrible at people's names. We got.
Sorry.
I know you're always on your phone.
Yeah, well, client check-ins all the time, 24 hours a day, pretty much.
Well, that's part of the deal, right?
It is.
So, this is another thing. I always tell my clients, I'm available 24/7, except I'm going to turn my phone off at around 9:30.
Yeah, that's I have a limit. I'm like 9 o'clock.
I'll still answer it. if I check it, but I'm probably not going to. But you'll always get an answer within a few hours.
I saw this post, and somebody posted it the other day, and actually I saw it, and I think Dusty posted it.
What do you think? What do you think of Dusty?
I like Dusty.
I like
Dusty a lot.
Okay, I don't interact with him a lot.
Every experience I've had with them has been great.
Okay, so somebody asked me, I don't know if you guys agree with this, but somebody recently, just today, said, "Oh, you should have Dusty on this new podcast."
I love Dusty. I think
because he's local.
Yeah, he's good.
I've never had big bags.
I've always had. He does very simple.
I like that he speaks his mind.
He speaks his mind. He's straight up, but he's very knowledgeable. Okay. He is. He's very knowledgeable. Like I said, every interaction I've ever had with him, he's awesome.
Okay, well,
he's always been. Even when I moved here, day one, didn't know a person in Arizona. It was an Independence gym. It was like right around Christmas. I think I moved
Well,
here.
that gym has got some fucking history, man.
And we're back and I'm eating like some Christmas chow pre-workout. He's like, what are you doing? So I started talking about insulin spiking pre-workout. And he's like, yeah, give me some. And he's been cool. Dude didn't even have to talk to me. Like it might have been like my 5th day in Arizona. Okay. And it'd been nice to me every day since. I've trained with him a couple times. Literally, has always been the nicest guy to me. Really, really respectful.
We'll have to have him on here then.
Yeah, we will.
I like Dusty. I don't have a problem with him. I just don't know him.
He's strong.
Oh, I know he is.
Stupid strong.
You know, what I like about him is that he's always come out and said, because I never know how to handle this stuff. He goes, you know, I realize I'm not the prettiest bodybuilder, but I know where I fit. And I'm like, okay, I respect that.
He's worked for it.
Oh, goddamn right.
I mean, from what he's come from, that dude has put on some.
He's a thick, strong motherfucker.
But anyway, I think it was him that posted them, or one of his clients posted it, and it basically said, if you sing your check-ins, and you don't get a response, this is a generalization, and you get a like, okay, keep going, or good work, that's the best response. And I agree with this. That I can have. People are like, I need a dialogue with you every other day. I'm like, okay.
Do you want me to find a problem with you?
Or it's your off season. I'm like, you don't need a diet change every week. Like, you don't need a diet change every week in prep. Like,
actually, I consider.
I probably interact sometimes more than I should, and it doesn't set the boundaries, I think, or that's what I've been told. And then it's like, oh, well, yada, yada, yada. But it's like, you don't always need the, if I'm not giving you feedback, but I'm like, hey, you look good, keep going, that means you're doing the right thing.
Right.
Like, you don't need me to.
Don't fix a machine.
I'm not here to pat you on the butt and tell you good job every week. Like, let's go. I mean, and I've had pro people say that. I'm like, you're a fucking pro. Like, what do you need from me? Like, cool, eat. Good job.
I just think
bench press. Like, I don't know.
Well, I think some people, it's almost like they want to get their money's worth. They're like, okay, if I don't get some interaction with you, then I'm not getting my money's worth.
But I'm like,
no. But if everything is going, you pay for outcomes.
And two, it's very different. I'm like, if you're in the middle of your off season, it's different. I'm like, I'm going to be up your ass 8 weeks out from a show. Like, if we're going in to do the New York Pro, I'm going to be like, yeah, send me check-ins Wednesday, send me check-ins Saturday. I want a phone call every Saturday for 20 minutes. But you're in the off season. If you're gaining weight and you're staying lean, like, I'm not changing shit.
Yeah, don't fix the machine.
Go eat some extra cheat meals. Enjoy no cardio right now. But I'm a big low cardio person. I'm a big HIIT guy.
Oh, really?
I don't like a lot of cardio. Like with Kristen, when we turned her pro, she did 20 minutes of cardio the last 3 weeks of her prep, 4 days a week.
But she was already,
but for 2 years, I fixed her metabolism. And the more I feed her more than probably 90% of the classic amateurs out there.
Really?
She eats all day long. And then Hunter's the same way. The other one that turned pro, the physique, I'm just using the last two. But he's at 1,000 grams of carbs. He's still got an 8-pack.
Oh, yeah.
Every day. He's at like 300 grams of fat and 280 protein.
Who's that now?
Hunter. The men's physique guy.
Okay.
The one, you looked at him before. He turned at USA's.
Yeah, I know. I know. Yeah, I'm like, I just don't connect the names to the faces.
I got it. We'll have him on. He's super knowledgeable too. But it's just crazy how like you get the metabolism working. You don't need to do 2 hours of cardio. You're eating up your legs. Don't waste your day. Go sleep.
I think that was probably the reason why I always did something.
Now, if you have to make a weight limit, that's different. Like if we're classic and I'm at 240 at 6%, I got to make 220.
So what do you weigh right now?
I'm like 255.
See,
I'm fat though. I've been sitting on the couch for 8 months.
I still think, man.
I know.
I'm thinking when we get shit going, there's no way you're gonna make this weight.
We'll see.
There's no way. I don't. Or maybe I should rephrase that. There's no way I want you to make this weight.
My legs just grow fast, so
they what? They do
super fast.
Okay, that's good.
Crazy fast.
That's good. My legs never did.
Legs and shoulders. I know. I worked with the guy Malcolm Goodwin.
Okay.
Awesome. Great nutrition guy. But he's like, yeah, you can train your shoulders every other week. Maybe hit legs every other week for a little while too. Because he's like, what the fuck is happening?
Funny thing was, I remember.
But he was great. He did a great prep on me. We did a 10-week prep. I went from like 16% body fat to 4% and gained 18 pounds of muscle.
Wow. How long? How many weeks?
10 weeks.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah. So I'm that super.
Well, we'll see what happens.
Yeah, let's see what you get. So basically, I'm going to be a bodybuilder. Thanks. I just set myself up on this one.
Well, I keep going to these shows, like the Arnold and the Olympia, and the first thing people say to me, my friends, all the other pros and stuff like that, they say, "Oh, you look really good, man." I said, and I remember telling who was I was talking to. I think I was talking to, I don't know if I was talking to DJ, if I was talking to Flex. They're like, "Does that mean I look small? What the fuck are you telling me I look good because I look?" Because you're like, I get it that I look more normal.
Right.
I don't.
Well, that's how I feel. I'm like it's like you're huge. I'm like, yeah, but I feel normal.
I'm used to walking around like fitting in my clothes a little differently. So I'm like, man, I don't want to look good. I want to look fucking. I just want to feel like myself again.
I'm like, I look down. I'm like, what is this? I don't have abs. What's going on? I was like, oh, that was all
Dude,
the
I'm sitting there
pasta
with
you ate on the couch while you were watching Netflix.
So I took Joe to the Olympia this year.
Yeah, I know. Yeah.
And we had a fun time, and he helped me out. It was great. And I love Joe. Joe's awesome.
Greatest guy.
Joe Valdez. Okay, so
greatest guy.
Yeah, awesome dude. And I love his gym. And he's man, I can't say.
This is where we train out of. Yeah,
right. Can't say enough good things about it. But like when I'm like, we were. He's sitting there. I'm reporting, doing my Twitter stuff, and he's like, "Man, I'm hungry." He's getting low blood sugar. He's popping fucking Hershey's bars. Fucking
he's like, don't be saying you're gonna get him in trouble. TJ's gonna get him.
I know. I'm like, dude. He's like, you want one? I'm like, no, I don't want one. I don't need a fucking bunch of sugar. But he needs to like, oh man. I was just like, oh man, you need to like. I said, man, why don't you start training with me?
He said he's got one more run in him.
I know
he's got one more run in him.
I saw the pictures. He looks great.
He would crush in class.
I know. I told him. I said, dude. I said, let me help you. You would be awesome.
He told me the other day. He was talking. He said, I got one more in me.
He could do this, man. Dude, he could do this.
He's 50 now. He can beat Master.
Totally. He can fucking crush that shit.
Pro card in Master. One more show. One more Masters show.
I guess I just I don't know, but he doesn't. I don't know if he's motivated to do it.
He said I think he might. We'll be going for a while, and then we'll get him to sneak in a workout with us.
Maybe.
TJ's prepping too now. You know,
I know.
Her getting ready, so that's got to be.
But the one thing she shouldn't do is harp on him about it.
No.
Because he's not that. He doesn't get motivated that way.
Right.
It's got to come from inside. It's got to come from himself. Because otherwise,
but she's making some changes. She's been backing it for.
Yeah,
we're bringing those legs up a little bit. She killed her on quads the other day, so I don't think she liked me very much. It's 2 days walking around the gym.
Let's see. We were going to talk about something else. I can't remember what the other topic was.
I think we were going to talk about kind of what we were going to address on the podcast, and
right,
then what we were going to do together.
Right. That's when. So I'm excited because I want to get my weight back up.
Yep.
So I'm about 205. I think I haven't even stepped on the scale, but I think I'm around 205.
I was like 253 this morning.
Okay, 253. Yeah.
Dry.
And I feel weak as fuck.
Yes.
And I feel like big, gigantic fucking.
Well, I'm doing 15-pound press aways and like work.
I mean, I'm doing this workout. We did our back today. I'm like,
my back's already sore.
I'm feeling like a big fat fucking pussy. I'm like, man, I'm like, because I remember.
But I will say.
I did like it.
For the first time, I was wearing a weight trainer for back support because I got that, and I could feel my lats start hanging over, like the blood coming in. I was like, oh, it's coming good now. Let's do some more. Get some more blood in there. But it was great. It was the first time I've had some great workouts the past 2 weeks, but coming back too, it's like very humbling. I'm like, I was a 500-pound bencher, and I'm like, I don't even free bar bench anymore. I'm scared. I'm like, oh shit, what's gonna happen?
I don't heavy bench anymore.
Yeah,
I don't do that. No. I'll use the bench as a modality.
I incline more than anything.
Oh yeah. I don't know. I just some of this stuff it doesn't appeal to me anymore.
No, I don't really care how much I bench. We said that the other day. It's like, when have you ever went and walked on stage and somebody asked, "Oh, what do you bench?" No one cares.
The only time I get that question is on my Instagram lives. How much you bench, man? Like, I don't know.
I get it all the time. I'm like, I don't know.
How stupid are you? I don't know.
I'm like, how much do you squat? But that one's the one I'll do. I'll be like, oh, we'll put 4 or 5 on and do some depth deficits and stuff. But I'm not going over that.
When I was 26, when I was 25, I think I was around 25, 26. That was when I was probably my strongest because I was training that way.
Until now, yeah. Until what we're not.
But I was like squatting like 7 plates per reps, like triples.
That's crazy weight.
No. I mean, I remember it made me feel uncomfortable because when you come down with like around the bar go. If you don't have like a 500-pound rated bar, it'll move on.
And it's the feel, and a lot of people won't know this, but it's when you hit the bottom,
yes,
and then you push
come back up,
and the bar's bending, and the weight's not moving.
It's not moving. It's staying where it's at.
Yeah,
and then it goes. Whoa.
Yeah, that's not a fun feeling.
You can't squat normally. No. You have to actually do it extra slow because you have to control
get that rebound.
That's right. And I was like, I remember feeling that. I'm like, fuck me. I was like, this is how
it's rough.
motherfuckers get hurt.
Oh, yeah.
Fuck.
I saw somebody dump today.
Oh, really?
It was like 500. And he just went down. And it was like, I was like, thank God he knew how to dump it. He had no reps on it and just popped it off his back. I was like, well, at least you know how to dump out of the squat.
You can't.
That was not going to be, he's a tall guy, like 6'4".
What the fuck is he doing? How much was he benching?
No, he was squatting 500. He was trying for, he's strong.
Okay.
You know.
Okay. Well, I mean, I love squatting.
I do too. My back just does not.
But I just can't, like,
I actually really like the hack squat.
I do too.
I love
the machine
training at PT Joe's. I actually went to Muscle Factory, which is Dusty and Lance's gym in Tempe, and they have the new.
Really, around here?
Yeah, they have the Arsenal hack squat.
So that everyone,
it is amazing.
All these like Arsenal equipment, everyone fucking loves it.
Sitting in the couch.
I've never used any of it.
We'll have to go train there.
Okay, we're gonna have to go there.
Yeah, we'll go one day.
Man, I don't know. My screen keeps.
And they have the pendulum.
Oh, okay.
Pendulum is.
What's that?
It's the pendulum squat. Where it's that thing's gnarly. Yeah, we'll have a fun day on that. Oh man.
All right, man. Well, let's see. What do we got? We're good on time. Are we good on time? Okay.
Yeah, we're good. We got a few minutes. I got an early morning. You don't have early morning like me.
I don't do early. I
have to.
I get it. I'm just not really good with the early morning stuff.
You don't love training in person anymore, though.
No. I stopped doing it several years ago.
Hey. Hi. We got a little visitor down here.
My Conan. Yeah, he just thinks he's part of everything that I do. That's okay. I bought this new. It's funny. I bought this. I needed a new brush for him, so I bought this thing. It's the hand one, the mitt, and he fucking loves it. He fucking hates being brushed, but he loves this mitt. I think he thinks I'm petting him.
Oh, probably. I was like, Zeus. We'll have to let him and Zeus play. He's a
what's
Zeus? American Bulldog. We have a big white American Bulldog, blue eyes.
Oh, he loves it.
He lives his best life every day. I walk in and he's on his back like this, like a person with his head on a pillow on the couch, just chilling.
I was thinking about getting him a buddy, like a pit bull or something.
Yeah. Well, let's let them play one day.
Oh yeah. I know he loves. Every time I was take a walk, he cries. He's 8, almost 8. Yeah. He's a
good boy.
He's a good boy. He actually just loves attention. That's all he wants, right? He wants food, he wants bacon, and he wants attention.
Oh, yeah. All the bacon. We were talking about that earlier.
He just loves that shit. Yeah, I know, Conan.
Maybe we'll cook on a podcast sometime. We'll put some Southern food while we're doing it.
There we go. Some some grits. And what do you want, Conan? Want some collard greens?
Yeah, some greens.
So my goal is to get my weight up over 220.
And I'm trying to get my weight back to my normal shape.
I'm just unclear. I don't know. What do you think? I'm unclear if I want to go quite so heavy because I normally would walk around at about 245.
Why don't we get you in single digits, keep you in single digits, and then just let your body do what it wants to do? Okay,
that sounds good.
I mean, not inhibit it. Like, let's just monitor it more by body fat, keeping you in that 8, 9. And feed you.
I had somebody ask me, "Oh, you want to be? Are you going to get back? Are you going to compete
and
again?"
Just feed you and see how let your body go. Don't pull. You don't have a weight goal. You don't I mean, I don't want to get you to 270 where you can't breathe walking around unless you just decide you want.
I don't care if I can't breathe.
Yeah, I mean,
I've lived.
But you just think you want
to live I lived a couple decades like that.
There you go. No, but I'm saying just same with me. I'm going to trust you and just let my body go naturally to what it does.
Yeah,
and see where it goes. Pull the body fat down and.
It's gonna be
let it fall where it does.
I haven't been excited about doing this shit for a little for.
I'm excited. Like I said, I've had some great training partners, but I haven't had anybody
that knew what they were doing.
Well, I haven't. No, not that they knew what they were doing, but I haven't had anybody that's wanting to train consistently. They all have jobs and stuff. This is our life.
No, this is my life.
This is my life. This is my life. That's what I do.
Yeah,
I get great. I will say this. I get some of the best workouts I've ever had, and I'm not knocking anybody else, but Kristen destroys me on legs.
Oh, really?
You train quads.
She got great legs.
Unbreakable. Destroys. It's one of the best lead training partners ever. But the back and shoulders and stuff to do.
But I think when it comes to competitors,
it's going to be nasty.
I think when it comes to competitors like with Kristen, I can tell by the way she thinks. She thinks like every other competitor. So, which is that she just really wants to destroy shit.
Yeah, you have to pull her back.
Right.
You're not going to go like this.
So that only comes with that kind of wisdom comes with time. I can always tell how advanced a competitor is in their career by how they approach their training. Because if you approach a training with the main focus of recovery, then I know you've had some experience. But if you approach it with just the work, then I know you're just in love with the work.
See, I like to set time limits on my training. I don't care. I'll try to pre-write my workouts, or I'll have an idea, and I'm like, if I hit hour and 20, I'm done.
That's good.
I'll walk away.
That's good.
I'm like, this is too much. I'm like, way out of my anabolic window. I don't have enough food to do this.
You got to dump some HP.
Yeah, I'm like, I'm all about the end result. I get so mad. This is my biggest pet peeve with clients, with everybody, and I get like mad about it, even myself. And people get so mad at me. I'm like, I just trained. I got 15 minutes to eat. I don't give a fuck what you have to do. I need to get some protein in my body. I need some manipulation. Like, give me some.
I got this window.
It has to go in, and I need my next meal in exactly an hour. That's why you said, do I eat while I'm training? Yeah. I'll have a client 15 minutes as soon as we get done. I got time to smash some gummy bears and protein, and then I'll go smash.
I've never known why people don't think like this.
I'm like, I'm like, cool, I had a great workout. I just wasted the whole thing because my nutrition wasn't right.
Well, that's literally what I think. I've been clients tell me, oh, I was with my friends and they were eating this. I didn't know if I should. I said, why do you give a fuck what they're eating?
I'm like, how many times have you walked into a restaurant with Tupperware? I do it all the time.
I walked into a movie.
Can I have a plate? Here's $10.
When I was prepping, I would walk into a movie theater with shit.
Oh, yeah.
I'm fucking like,
although popcorn is really good.
I like that, but I'm like, fuck this. I would bring my meal, eat my meal. Like, I don't care. I'll bring my meal to a restaurant.
Oh, yeah,
I don't care. Sure. I brought my meal to business meetings. Like, I used to work for Oracle when I was in my 20s. Right out of graduate school, I was number one. I was the top fucking.
We talked about this, yeah.
And I would bring my fucking Tupperware to business meetings, to like CEOs and CTOs of companies.
I'd be like, sorry.
And then they'd be like, oh.
Do you have a microwave? Heat up some tilapia. Sweet potatoes.
Well, my VPs and my managers say, what are you doing? Like, it's like, hey man, am I at the top of the leaderboard? And they say, yeah, of course. Well, then what you got?
What do you care?
What do you care? But I always found it a way to, like, they always ask me, like, what are you eating?
But I think people respect the discipline of it. They're like, damn, this dude's this discipline. What's he like? Obviously, he has his shit together.
Well, they would ask me about it.
Yeah,
and it was a bridge for me to be able to be able to report. Yeah, I was like, oh, what are you doing? Oh, I'm a bodybuilder. Oh, really? Oh, that's interesting. Like, no,
what does it take? Because a lot of people don't.
I don't want to look like you, bro.
A lot of people don't understand it. No. They don't understand how much goes into it. They're like, oh, you just lift all the time. I'm like, no, like an hour and a half a day, hour and 20 minutes. But it's
a lifestyle.
But it's 24 hours of eating. Like you said, my sleep sucks, but I need to get better. I can get a nap every now and again. But being busy, I'm also, building and thriving and building and what we've talked about, doing some stuff together and whatever, which we'll talk about later. But, you got to put the time into, like, I wish I could just hang out and.
Well,
but I have a lot of in person. I love training in person. I still love doing that. So.
I just have this is my perspective. My perspective is that in my own life, I'm all about the experiences.
Right. So
for me, it's all about the experiences. I don't have good experiences when I'm tired.
Oh, I mean, I don't know. Sometimes I'm exhausted and I'm like, people know. But like I said, I love training. I can feed off energy. And as long as I'm training the right clients, I love all my clients right now. They're great. Like, I don't have anybody, and I have had it, and sorry, you probably know who you are if you ever hear this, but I've had clients where I've walked in, I'm like, fuck, God, I got to train this person today.
I hate that.
Like, I don't want to, and I'm like, because they just don't appreciate it. That's my big thing. I'm like, I have some great clients, I have some great competitors, even the ones that aren't competitors are really working towards a goal. So that motivates me, and I'm like, damn, you're taking this seriously. You're excited about it.
That's awesome.
I'm excited about it. I'm like, and then there's girls that are like, can I get a booty pop? And I'm like, they have nannies for their kids and their husbands work, and they just want to be at the gym to do something.
Well, you don't need me for that shit.
And I'm like, well, you don't. I'm like, go find another trainer. This isn't what I do. I'm like, if you train the way I want to train, you're probably not going to walk tomorrow doing half one of the workouts, or you're not going to be able to raise your hand over your head. And that's just regular.
I wouldn't even be doing this podcast if I didn't respect you as a trainer.
No, and I wouldn't do it with you. I sure as hell wouldn't have been like, hey, I want you to prep me.
Well, no, I see a lot of trainers, and don't get me wrong. I mean,
this is a whole nother one,
but I just don't think that most people look. If you're under, this is my personal opinion. If you're under the age of 35, then I just personally couldn't respect the level of experience.
It takes that much time to do it.
It just takes a lot of experience.
And I've seen some that are like, I'm a guru on form, and I'm looking at their form, and they're like calling out other trainers. I'm like,
what the fuck are you talking about?
I'm like, I have 10 of your clients, and Kristen has 20 of them, but they're fixing this fuck up that you're teaching right now.
Well, that's like Louis St. Boston Lloyd has this issue with his kidneys and stuff because he's taking a shit. And I like the dude. I think he's a nice guy. I've talked to him. We've talked to each other several times over the last several years. He's a nice guy, but I don't agree with all of his tactics.
Well, I mean, there's some great coaches, and I'm not going to name. There's one specific that I'm talking about.
I'll name him.
We're not getting. This is. I will. We'll just go down another. But there's some guys that are putting people on the Olympia stage right now that have straight kill people because they're dumping so much gear in, and I'm like.
Well, see that. So that's a good.
Why? And their training's good, and their nutrition's good. But I'm like, you don't need 80 IUs of insulin a day.
No.
Like you don't need all this. Like.
Well, there's a diminishing returns.
Yeah, I mean, you can get away with 8.
So the lesson this last Olympia taught everybody, all trainers, something that taught them this, that the bigger is not better.
Right.
Because Rami was 30 pounds bigger in previous Olympias. And what
he finally got his conditioning in too.
It took that. But what it took was reducing his body weight by 20 to 30 pounds. And I know that, like, I remember having this conversation with Dallas McCarver before he died. I remember going out
Dallas was a great guy.
Great dude. And,
Tennessee guy.
Oh, yeah. He didn't like. I think it's because he liked the girl that I was dating. And he went, but
he liked all girls. He was a great guy. He loved girls.
But I remember talking to him. Right. We were up at Redcon 1, and we were doing some filming and stuff. And he said, and I was like, "Oh, hey man, you're looking really good." He looked better. He was looking better. He switched from his coach that he knew from high school. What's his name?
Jansen?
Yeah, Matt. And I like Matt. Yeah. Matt's a nice guy. But he's a really nice guy. Then
he's super nice.
And he moved over to Chad, I think.
Yeah.
And I said, let me guess.
But didn't he go back to Jansen?
He might have.
I think he went back to Jansen right then. I'm not sure. Don't quote me on that.
Okay,
I thought he did.
Well, right during that, in that period, he was starting to look better. Like, I remember I came out there.
Tighter.
Yeah, he got tighter and he was looking nicer and he was starting to prep for the Arnold. And I was like, "Oh wow, man, you look really good." I said, "How did it work out with you and Matt and everything?" He said, "Been okay? It's been cool." He said, "Yeah, Matt and I understand each other. We're good friends. We've been to super high school." I said, "Okay, that's cool." And I said, "Let me guess. Chad knocked all your gear down by half." He said, "Oh yeah, that's about right." I said, and it's just a common mistake that a lot of young trainers make. They just overdrug
what had been ingrained in me from what I learned from other people was like, "Oh, you need to take all this," and I messed myself up for a long time, and it's like one of the reasons why I'm so happy with the injury and stuff because I was blasting for a long time in my late 20s. Everything.
Like what's the dosage levels?
I mean, like 1,500 tests. I had one guy give me like 1,500 tests. He did an EQ Deca mix. It was like 600 Deca. 400 EQ, 100. Dude, it was insane. Tren and Anthate was like 500 a week.
Oh,
Anadrol was at 100.
Sounds like a fun cycle.
Yeah, it was, but I felt like shit.
Of course,
like horrible.
Yeah.
And then it was like going to some insulin, but it was like 3 times a day or again. It was like 275, 280, and I was fairly lean. I mean, I was the biggest I've ever been, and I hated the way I felt.
Really
hated.
What did you feel like?
Shit all the time, like just super lethargic. I would get through training sessions. I was strong.
It's because your blood was too high.
Yeah, it was super, but it was just, and I'm like, I got away. But the best I've looked was like the best I thought I looked aesthetically was running like nothing. I mean,
isn't that funny?
I mean, it was like this. If I was running this, I was like down here on the doses. I'm like super simple compounds. It's like Masteron, a little bit of Trinase, very low test, insulin post workout, growth. Look great.
I'm telling you, man, sometimes the most simplest fucking shit is the best.
I'm like, you don't need all these, like, just build on it. And then maybe you might need to add in this to your fat burner or some Quinn or whatever it is to get harder at the end or manipulate sodium differently. There's so many little tricks, but you have to find the tricks that work for you.
I think a lot of people just, they want to rely on
more is not better in this world.
And it's not always. Sometimes it can be better.
And the quality of what you're taking is huge, too.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a whole different. We've got about 6 more podcasts to go down to everything we touched.
There was it's always something like it's kind of funny because I think a lot of people, they realize, and somebody asked me this question, what's the difference between the bodybuilding in the 90s and the bodybuilding today? I said the difference is that the conversation around drugs is more intense.
Agree.
That everyone relies so much more heavily on drugs, and it comes so much quicker. I don't think a lot of guys in the 80s and 90s, I didn't even think about using drugs till I was well in my 20s.
Yeah, I mean, I was an athlete.
It was like 25. And it wasn't that I wouldn't have if it came to me earlier. It was that wasn't part of the conversation until later, until I knew, hey, I'm going to make it to another level that I really kind of need this.
Right.
And I'm not saying that has to happen these days because everyone wants things so fast, but
I'm just doing it right and healthy. I mean, I think at the end of the day, you still have to put your health into the picture.
Absolutely.
And a lot of people don't care.
And if you don't, if you don't care now, you're gonna care later.
Oh yeah, 100%.
I can tell you, today the one thing I struggle with, and I know it's a function of my bodybuilding, is my blood pressure.
Yeah.
But I have it in my family history. I'm borderline hypertensive. So is my brother.
One that's saying we talked about.
Yeah. So I just have to watch it. Because if I orals,
and going to aspirin. There's different compounds that'll help for sure.
So but I know a lot of people just don't give a fuck. I know when in my 20s, I didn't give a fuck here.
Yeah, but you're not thinking about when you're 50.
No, of course not. But now that I'm 50, I'm like,
I'm over 35 now. I'm 36, and I'm like, shit, man. Maybe I probably shouldn't have done that in my 20s now.
Well, I think
feeling it now.
I think I'm so glad that I made the mistakes because it informed me.
I think from a coaching perspective, 100%, because I can also be like, hey, these are some of the
Don't do that. I did that.
We're not going to do this. And if this is what you're looking for, I tell people all the time, they're like, I want to blast all this. I've had people send me their protocols and say, this is what I want to stay on. And I'm like, well, you need to find a different coach. Because I'm not doing this.
I'm not going to do that to you.
I'm not going to be the person.
Yeah, I've said it to people a lot. I said, look, I've never seen anyone, no one on my watch has ever gone to the hospital. Right. Well, I take that back, one person. And she was
from gear.
From gear, right? Yeah. This is you got to hear this. This is funny. So I had a figure chick, and we did a great prep. She was awesome. She did so well.
Yeah.
And so after the prep, I always have everybody take a couple of days off. I said, just go and eat clean, do what you like, don't train, don't go nuts, just fucking have some fun, just get it out of your system. She calls me. So that was on a Saturday. She calls me on a Thursday. She's like, oh my God, Dad, I think there's a problem. I said, what's wrong? She said, I'm in the ER. I said, you're in the ER? What the fuck in the ER for? She goes, well, I started eating and I couldn't stop. And so
she gained a bunch of water.
She's like, I guess I'm impacted. They have to help me. So I can't take a shit. I'm like, fuck it, I can't. I'm all bloated. I'm like, oh my God, like, what should I do? I said, stop fucking eating.
Well, I've seen, but too, coming off everything, I've seen people like go eat Mexican, drink a bunch of margaritas and stuff that had no sodium, old school, bro science. No sodium when they ate all the salty food.
Oh, shit.
Water retention puts the pressure on your heart. Stroke out.
Oh, yeah. Not a good thing, man.
You have to, if you go into that world, you have to give people reverse outs.
Well, she was like, she said,
but that's different.
She said, I said, what did you do? She said, I was driving home and I saw this McDonald's. So I said, I haven't had McDonald's for like 6 months. So I went to my McDonald's and I was driving farther. I saw Burger King. So I said, I want to have Burger King. And I was driving farther. I saw Taco Bell. I wanted Taco Bell. And then I found some fucking M&M's in my back seat. So I ate those. And I said, wait a minute, Lorna. I said, how much food did you eat? She said, well, I just kept eating.
Didn't stop.
I didn't stop.
See, I'm not that hungry. The craziest thing was,
I
crave soup. I just want soup.
Like clear soup?
Like just any type of soup.
Oh, fuck. Okay.
I don't know why. I think it's because I had to cut so much water. The last time was really bad because I barely made weight. When I say barely made weight, like had to get butt ass naked and take my earrings out to make weight.
We won't have that problem this time.
So I make weight, couldn't get filled out for like 8 more days. Didn't spill for like 2 weeks, but I was so thirsty. I went in a sauna and sat in a sauna. I was like 4 pounds over at weigh-ins, and Kristen's with me, and she's sending guys into the sauna because it was like a guy-girl one to make sure I was still alive. And I sat there till I quit sweating. Went back, wiped everything off, literally just walked in there, straight to the front of the line, took off all my clothes, didn't give a fuck, stepped on the scale, and made it by like 0.1 pound. Like it wasn't even like, I took I had gauges in it at the time. Like I pulled my gauges out.
Oh shit.
Underwear off, all of it. Just was like,
this is me.
I was like, this is it. Like I can't do anymore. I'm not even sweating in the sauna at this point.
There's been some pretty close. I've only had,
but I had to make 212 at that one. And I was
212. Okay.
Yeah.
How did you
I
make
pulled so much water.
So what did you come on stage at?
I was probably like 220.
Okay.
But that was all I could. I needed to be about 235. I mean, I was flat. Like,
I was gonna say
I was bigger than anybody else on stage, but I was still super flat.
You will be that way.
That was the one. That was funny though. This is the only time I've had this happen. I'm in the lineup, and the guy behind me is standing there, and he's looking at me, real skinny guy, and I felt like I didn't even realize it happened. And Kristen's like sitting there pumping up. We're doing this, and he goes, "Is he in my class?" And she's like, "Yeah, you're right behind him. Y'all are going on stage." Dude literally walked and sat in the audience. Didn't even go on stage.
He's like, "Fuck it, I'm not going."
He literally said, "Fuck it." He's like I mean,
what a quitter, man.
He was like 20 pounds under.
So
he should have been in men's physique. And I was like, why didn't I felt bad. I was like, why didn't you tell me? I would have been like gone and said something to him. That's ridiculous. I'm like, why don't you do all this work and do it? But I talked to him after he was doing another show. It was his first show. He had nerves and stuff. He had no idea what he was getting into. No clue.
I just don't like quitters.
No,
don't quit, man. Don't quit, man.
Just do it. Like, fuck, you did all that work. I was like,
all right, man. Well, we got 9:30
here. Yeah.
This is we're gonna wrap this up for this episode. But hey, man, thanks, man.
Thank you.
This is gonna be awesome.
Gonna be fun.
This is gonna be a lot of fun. We're gonna have a lot. I think we're gonna ask for some topics.
Yes. Send topics. Whatever you want to hear. It does not have to be bodybuilding anything.
Yeah, we're gonna talk about a lot of bullshit.
Yeah.
This is gonna be a lot of fun. So I appreciate everybody tuning in, and we will see you guys next time.
See you.